Hello all you bladers. In this video, if you want to know how to make Beyblade Burst Dynamite Battle or Burst Ultimate competitive combinations, this is the right video for you. So we're going to go over every single piece I have in my collection for Burst Ultimate and Dynamite Battle bays, including any series of drivers that I have that I believe are competitive. Now there are other parts that you can use, like the Zone Dash plus Z driver, for example, the Lucifer core, for example, the 6 armor, for example, the Moon disc, for example, the Super R slash Super M blade, for example. But these are the collections I have, and if you have these, stay tuned. I'm gonna do a lot more videos, parts on these specific, like in-depth explanations of each one. So we're going to go through the layers first, explain a little bit about it, and do process of elimination. So first of all, we have two Divine Blades. So we're going to take out this one because it doesn't have the H gear or the A gear. We're going to keep Astral because it is useful for dual spin and some recoil. We're going to keep Guilty because it is a top tier counterclockwise attacker in upper attack and smash attack. We're going to keep Chain because it has some niche defensive qualities and a gimmick with the chains that could be useful. We're going to keep Burst because it is a very good defensive blade with some recoil and stamina as well as dual spin capabilities. We're going to keep Vanish as it excels in same spin, defense, and opposite spin. We're going to keep Savior and Ultimate as they are both top tier, or very close to top tier clockwise or right spinning KO attackers, where Savior is a bit more explosive, Ultimate's a bit safer to use, but they both burst a bit. Divine is just very thick, and it can be used on specific attack stuff. Zest can also be used on specific attack stuff, and it's a dual spin blade, so it's useful to have. Dangerous is absolute garbage. There is literally nothing good about this. You're out of here. Prominence can be used in opposite spin and defense. Greatest Raphael can be used in opposite spin and defense. Cyclone has some recoil to be used with it, but to be honest, because you have Ultimate, Savior, and Divine, which probably could outspin this also, and Cyclone is so light, Cyclone is complete trash, we're not going to use it. Zyphoid is a top tier right spin attack blade with its square shape and high recoil. Dynamite F and Wind are both top tier right spin stamina blades and opposite spin, and Gatling has some nice recoil and it can use its ovular shape to have some nice opposite spin, so we're going to keep Gatling. Now, so we went over the layers. We basically got rid of Cyclone and Dangerous and gave a quick explanation of each layer's capabilities and how good it is. Now we're going to go over the discs, chips, armors, and drivers, and we're going to do a part 2 talking about how like each category works and splitting them into categories, and then we're going to do some more stuff. So the discs, we're going to keep Giga because it is nice and upward in weight distribution, and it has nice stamina, can be supportive with mobile drivers. We're going to keep Over because it is a top tier stamina and opposite spin disc with high in-class defense and weight. We're going to keep Tapered because although it is decently outclassed, it is still usable for its LAD. We're going to keep Spread Dash because it is very smooth and thin as a disc, so it can be used on mobile combinations. We are going to actually keep Legacy also because it has some nice niche qualities with its jagged shape. L gear is here specifically for Dynamite F gear, or if for some reason you want to use it on Divine. It is used for hybrid a lot of the times, or high extent plus dash on high mode. We're going to keep Fortress because it is a top tier KO attack disc, especially when paired with Guilty. More on that later. Karma is basically just Legacy, but not symmetrical, so we're going to get rid of Karma. Wing Dash is a off-balance disc, but because it is a bit heavy for its disc orientation, we're going to keep it. It has some niche uses. We're going to keep Xanthus because it has uses on Zyphoid. And also, we're keeping 2 of the discs just because discs have stars. For Divine, we got rid of the gold one just because it's the exact same thing. For discs, they have 4, 3, 2, or 1 stars, and that has usage. More on that later. We're going to get rid of Nexus because we have Nexus plus S and Nexus plus D, which are both very good in opposite spin and attack. And Nexus is just not very good on its own without the gears. Okay, we got rid of the discs that we do not need. Now we're going to go over the armors in order. We have the 1 armor, which is mainly just used on Xiphoid for its weight distribution. We have the 0 armor, which is a top tier stamina type armor. Very good on basically anything for stamina. We have 6 2 armors. Armors you don't need to keep. You just find the one that looks the coolest. It honestly doesn't matter with armors. So we're going to get rid of these 2 armors that aren't shiny blue because I like this one. 2 armor is good for actually defense and attack in like balancing the weight on 2 sides. We're going to keep this shiny 3 armor. Get rid of these. So the 3 armor is best used on Vanish, Ultimate, Savior, or Dynamite, or Wind. 3 pointed blade, just generally shaped layers. We're going to keep the 4 disc because it goes very well with Guilty or Astral, Guilty or Burst or Astral or Prominence for attack and defense. It is very, very heavy. We're going to keep this one because it's shiny. Again, armors don't matter. The only ones you want to keep extras of are discs, drivers, and chips. Maybe layers depends, but with Divine it doesn't matter. Now we're going to go with the 8 armor. The 8 armor is also usable for just weight and stamina. It's niche. The 9 armor is good for stamina. It's good for attack. It's got nice weight distribution for 3-bladed armors, or 3-bladed layers. We're going to get rid of this one. And the 10 armor, we're going to keep that one. The 10 armor is more specific shape, just weight distribution again. Armors are more about weight distribution more than anything, so you want to match the armor with the layer. So the 10 armor works best on Gatling, Prominence, or Astral. Maybe Chain, but Chain might work better with something like 8. So that's the armors. We're going to just go ahead and push all these to the center. So just to recap, we're keeping the 1 armor, we're going to keep the 0 armor, the 1 armor, the 2 armor, the 3 armor, the 4 armor, the 8 armor, the 9 armor, and the 10 armor. Now we went over that. So we're going to go over the chips next. So first of all, with chips, you want to keep some spares of these just to have it in here. We're going to keep Excalibur because although it has a gimmick that makes it off balance, if you use it on a dash driver and a tight disc, meaning like a light disc, maybe a heavy layer, it is actually very good because the sword can be kept inside the chip for very, very heavy usage. Phoenix's really only usage is how tight its teeth are and the fact that it won't really wear down too much on dash drivers, but because you have cores like Kerbeus that have rubber and won't wear anyway, and you have like Belial 2, Belial 2, Belial 3, which quite literally provide burst resistance, and Valkyrie 2 is also very, very tight with better stamina, we are not going to keep Phoenix. We're not going to keep Belial either because it's basically just Phoenix but not as good burst resistance. We're not going to keep Fafnir either because it's the same idea, it's just counterclockwise. Oh, also, if you don't know the spin directions of the blades, there's right spin and left spin, and there's dual spin. So this is dual spin, left spin, right spin, dual spin, left spin, right spin, right spin, right spin, dual spin, right spin, right spin, right spin, right spin, right spin, right spin. Discs you can use on anything. This is right spin, right spin. Achilles is dual spin, and it's also very good for stamina. Burst Spriggan 2 is also dual spin. It's very, very good for burst resistance and stamina. I would say Spriggan 2 is a little better than Achilles, but Achilles is still top tier. Kerbeus is a right spin core that specializes in burst resistance with some stamina usage. It's just useful to have, especially if Belial 2's burst stopper doesn't activate, because you do need a strong launch with that. But speaking of Belial 2, it literally has a burst stopper and will stop you from bursting, so we're going to keep that. And we're going to get rid of Spriggan simply because it's too light. It has a weird thing with the teeth where it doesn't click properly. And it also is it doesn't look cool, but that doesn't really matter. It isn't as good as these 2 dual spin cores, and it's just, we're not using Spriggan. Longinus is very good because it's heavy and it has nice teeth. Valkyrie and Dragon are both spring gimmick cores, so basically if you put it on the layer, the layer can now become a spring-loaded layer. Valkyrie has 2 teeth, but its spring load, you can spring load it farther back. Dragon has 3 teeth, and that means that its spring load is a little bit smaller, so you can spring load the layer a little bit less back. which means Dragon also has a bit better stamina and burst resistance, but Valkyrie will have a bit more specific like recoil defense. We're going to keep both of these. Perseus, we have 2 of them just because this one's tighter in the teeth. Perseus is just good for overall very nice weight, like longiness, and Valkyrie 2 has a very good use in burst resistance. So that is the chips. We're going to move all these in here. Just a second to check if it's in the camera. Okay, so we have basically all of the Dynamite Battle and BU parts we're going to be using in competitive. Some of these are not the best to use, but we kept the ones that have niche uses or very good uses. We just got rid of the ones that are completely useless. Now for the drivers. Evolution and Evolution Dash specialize in anti-attack and smashing around the walls. Evolution Dash is literally just evolution, but I have it awakened, and it's also a dash, which means it doesn't burst as much. But Evolution, specifically, is better than Evolution Dash on a Excalibur core. And also, if you want to use both of them, then Evolution and Evolution Dash, if you have a dash driver versus a non-dash driver, they classify as 2 different drivers. So if you want to use like Guilty Longinus, Fortress Evolution Dash 4, and if you also want to use Xiphoid Excalibur, Giga Evolution 1, both good combos we'll go over later again in the next parts of the video. Just keep going along if you want to see how to make competitive stuff, but Evolution and Evolution Dash are just good if you want to use 2 evolution drivers, and if you want to activate the Excalibur's gimmick on a non-dash driver, you can actually get that with Excalibur. It's called Crit Void. Again, more on that later. Octa specializes in weight defense. It is just very, very heavy, and you can also use it on ultimate specifically for like stationary attack. Again, more on the very specific stuff later. This is just basic. High extend plus dash is very, very tall. Dash driver, 3 modes, and good in same and opposite spin. I'm going to keep it. Quick dash, both of these are very good in KO attack. Adventure plus VS gear, it does scrape a little bit, but it's very good for anti-attack because it's so heavy, and you can also get some nice knockouts, depends. Universe is just a niche driver, but it's still usable. Obviously, Rise, I may or may not have done a video on the secret of the Awakened Rise and part 2 at this time of recording, but I'm going to, and Rise is a underrated driver, but you should definitely keep it. Mobius is a aggressive driver that is also very good for opposite spin. Drift, same thing as Mobius. Bearing is just a very safe driver like high extend plus dash for both same and opposite spin. Hybrid is, again, overlooked. Hybrid's honestly not the best thing to use. It's very light because hybrid is 36 grams. And basically what that means is instead of using a disc and a driver, you're using this. So if you have like overbearing, which is 34 grams plus 6 grams is like 40 versus 36. Hybrid's a bit lighter, but you can get it to work, but that's the point. We're keeping drivers that have niche uses even if they're not the best to use. We're just getting rid of the ones that are completely useless. Bearing Mobius is very, very good on defensive and stamina setups. Bearing Drift is literally the most OP driver in existence, except for attack. It barely gets KO'd. It's super good in opposite spin, and it's super good in same spin, plus very easy to use. Ban this driver, but I think ban this driver is a good option for versatility, but if it's not banned, use it. It's the best driver in existence. Like, I'm not even joking. Quattro is has 4 modes. It's very versatile basically and is used in same spin stamina. Metal Never is very good for defense and it's good for opposite spin. Decent same spin. Moment is another overlooked driver, but that's just because it released in a random booster and it's not accessible, but it's good in same spin and defense basically. Wave Dash is very, very, very good in same spin, especially on a wind combo that we will, again, more on that later. And All Might. Now, this All Might might honestly be, that wasn't a pun, by the way, All Might, but it basically might be completely useless if I had the V-Gear. So the V-Gear with All Might and Nexus plus S basically just makes it very good in opposite spin and weight defense. I'm inclined to say that we should keep it, but because I don't have the V gear, which comes with Savior Valkyrie, I can't test this properly because without the V gear, it really has nothing useful. So I'm gonna get this thrown out, but if you have the V gear and the S gear or the D gear, which comes on these discs, then you should test it out. But it's very good for opposite spin and weight defense. I just can't test it specifically just based on what I've seen, so we're gonna get this out. So now we have basically every single part in here you see has some use, whether it be niche use, very good use, or it's the best part in its series ever. So yeah, we have every single part we're going to use now. Next, we're going to split them up into categories. We're going to split them up into different sections, how they work and everything. And then we're going to maybe split them into tiers and decide which combinations might work and which ones are safer or better to use. Maybe, like, for example, Ultimate is safer to use than Savior, but Savior is better for KO attack, but Ultimate is also doesn't burst as much, so you might use Ultimate over Savior. More on that later again, but this is every single part you need, at least for my collection, out of these in the box that we're going to use. That's it for part 1. We're going to do part 2 and more on that later, and that's it. Subscribe if you enjoyed, and have fun, and don't forget to keep on blading.